Democrats on Capitol Hill have been calling President Trump's actions in Venezuela into question, including our next guest. Joining us now, Senator Mark Warner is the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee, and I've seen a lot. Welcome. You're in studio.
I'm glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. I've seen a range of things. Some Democrats, I think, even acknowledge that Maduro gone is probably good.
Maduro gone, good thing.
But
good thing.
And I don't know, are you concerned this could be a forever war?
Well, I just got to say this. We got 20% of the fleet off the coast of Venezuela. The aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, that's supposed to be in the Middle East, is off the coast of Venezuela. You know and I know, American oil going in, it's going to take a couple years to rebuild Venezuela's oil infrastructure. Is that fleet going to stay there for 2 years? What are the costs there? Remember, the president's promised it's not going to cost us a dime. Venezuelan oil is going to pay for it all. I don't know if that's happening. Remember, it wasn't Donald Trump. I know he's your guy, but I thought he was going to be the peace. Hold it, but he was going to be the peace guy. He was going to be the peace guy. Hold it, but Joe,
we know that he's not Andrew's guy.
Let me just say
I didn't say that.
My guy.
Well, let me just say this.
I'm America's guy.
This guy was
America's guy.
We've had American intervention in Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Nigeria, Venezuela, maybe Greenland, where he would blow up NATO. Did you see the Brits and the Germans are putting troops in Greenland because they want to try to send a message, don't attack Denmark, another NATO ally? How is this leading to price stability, bringing down cost, and now we got the frontal attack on the independence of the Fed? Come on.
Okay. You probably, when Fordo and when all that was happening.
I said bombing. I said the bombing was a success. What it was not was complete obliteration of the program.
Okay, no, I understand
But Joe, the facts matter. The facts matter.
But it is possible.
Iran has got a 4 to 9 month ability to rebuild their nuclear capability.
But what's happening in Iran now, a lot of these things, whether he's lucky or whether it's some of the things that he's done, it could be a much better place globally from when all of these things happen.
Iranian regime, awful.
Right.
Support for the Iranian people, absolutely. Could we put more cyber activities? Could we try to restore the internet? Last time America militarily intervened in Iran to change a government was 1953.
Right.
CIA overthrew a government there. Most historians would say that led to the Ayatollahs.
Right.
Now, I would love to see the Ayatollahs gone, but there's got to be a plan. And even with as good as our military is, who are you going to bomb in Iran?
Right. But there are good things happening in a lot of different places. Maybe he's lucky. Maybe it's in spite of things that the president does. But the world, and a lot of the wars that have been settled, I mean, Democrats have to, obviously, and I don't know whether he's my guy. I'll tell you that Tim Walz was never going to be my guy. And thank God he's not a heartbeat away from the presidency at this point.
Kamala Harris, not running again. I don't think he's
binary. It was a binary choice.
Let's just go about where we are today.
But
we got American intervention in 6 nations. We got our fleet off the coast of Venezuela.
Which one would you not?
I would love to see the Iranian regime change. Outside pressure, good. The idea that we're going to take a kinetic action, that might actually rally the people back to the regime. And at the meantime, what are we doing? What is he trying to do in Greenland? Does he realize NATO ally?
Time will tell with Greenland.
He said he wanted to go in Greenland because he's concerned about Russia going into Greenland. If he's concerned about Russia, help the Ukrainian people fight back against Russia.
Do you think at this point the president has improved on the Biden administration's role for Israel?
I think, is Israel in a stronger position today? Absolutely. What the Israelis
is that a good thing?
I think it's absolutely a good thing. And I supported the actions against Hezbollah, against Hamas. But how is the stability of the world today? How are we viewed around the world? What are we doing with the independent? What about, we have not mentioned Jay Powell yet.
Yeah, I want to get to Jay Powell. I want to go to Jay Powell.
Okay, let's go to.
No, I want to understand what your view is of what's happened here, whether it is a pretext, whether it isn't, whether an investigation is a fair thing to do, and what the discretion level should be for a prosecutor not to prosecute, but to investigate.
Well, investigation, fine. But he's talking about an indictment. And Trump's saying he didn't know about this. 2 weeks ago, he said Powell was going to get indicted. We saw it happen.
So you don't believe the president's saying the truth?
Let me answer the question. They tried to go after Lisa Cook. That got shot down. They're now trying to go after the independence of the Fed. You guys, amongst everybody I talk to, should understand going after the independence of the Fed is not good for the American economy. Yeah. It's not going to bring prices down. And does anybody believe that this is anything other than political retribution? Jay Powell's a pretty calm guy. You saw his statement, pretty extraordinary.
Where do you think this plays out? Because I keep waiting for the bond markets to kind of show some big reaction. We haven't seen it yet.
I know. The question is going to be, is there anything that finally goes too far? When is enough enough? You're starting to see Republicans step up. Tom Tillis on the banking committee, I'm on the banking committee, stood up yesterday. We saw five Republicans step up against the actions in Venezuela. We saw 17 House Republicans stand up on health care. But at what point is enough enough on all of these fronts at once? I mean, I think our system can absorb only so much shock at the same time. And none of this is about bringing down costs for folks.
Well, costs are not. I mean, we want to bring down the rise in costs from where they already are, which a lot of that is obviously owned by the Biden administration. Obviously, if it was 23%,
well, let's say it's owned by the Clinton people. How many decades back you want to go now?
23% price increases during the Biden administration, so bad that real wages fell. Real average weekly wages fell for 4 years under the Biden administration. That's why people feel like they can't get by right now. Now, inflation's still too high.
If you're selling prices are fine, American people
I'm not selling that. I'm saying that they're never going to come down.
If that is your,
they're rising more. They're rising more slowly. If you think affordability, blaming it on Trump is going to work, it might because he's the guy in the office. But people know when prices went up 22%.
I also know prices on health care. We've seen health care costs go up. We've seen grocery prices go up. We got a housing crisis. What has happened on housing prices?
It was 2.7% inflation the last reading, not 9% or 10% like we had.
Do you think this move to limit credit card interest rates is a sound one? You're on the banking committee.
It's populist.
Is that a way to bring down prices?
I don't know if you can arbitrarily set a cap like that. Is it 1 year? Is it going to be long term? How does that affect the overall credit availability? Anything we can do to, help bring down interest rates, have at it. But kind of arbitrarily picking and choosing is a little bit messing with the market.
So you'd be against that?
Listen, I've not seen any thoughtful presentation other than a 1 year freeze, how that it would be enacted.
I mean, caps are bad, right? I mean, even as a Democrat.
Look, the president's been talking about capping buybacks, dividends. Where are you on that?
Listen, I don't think putting arbitrary market restrictions in place without a fulsome plan makes any sense.
What is what without a full? So you think there's some cases where you would tell companies not to raise dividends and not to buy back stock?
I'd say, Joe, I actually remember in the old days, like 5 years ago, 2 years ago, when the idea that the American government was going to start taking equity shares in a company like Intel, and that anybody that is going to get a grant from the state, from the feds, has to put up an equity share. I would have called that socialism. What do you?
No, you're switching gears again.
No,
I'm saying that it is. Both sides are hybrid now.
Taking equity shares in American companies.
With Intel, it was a grant, and people said if you're going to have a grant, we might as well own something and be part of it.
Do you think we'll ever get TSMC?
It's the less bad of the two situations. Do you think we'll ever get
TSMC to bring the world's best technology on chip making to America if we've got a big equity share in their biggest competitor?
We obviously want to. I mean, that's what the CHIPS Act was about, was trying to bring.
CHIPS Act was my bill.
Right. Okay.
John Cornyn, my bill.
So we do want to do it.
We do want to do it. And I do think, putting some kind of tail on the back end, but if the companies have made a ton of dough, but the idea of a direct equity share, come on.
I got a different question. There has been a Rorschach test pretty much over the weekend about what took place in Minneapolis and with this ICE agent. Some people watched a shooting and said this was murder. Other people said this was self-defense. But even a larger conversation, here we are having a conversation about lawfare in the context of Jay Powell. I think a lot of people are looking at a question about lawfare in the context of something much broader vis-a-vis ICE and everything else. And what you think this actually means.
Listen, I'm old-fashioned. When an American citizen's killed by a law enforcement officer, I think there ought to be a full federal and state investigation.
You think there should be a state investigation?
I think the state has got a role to play here. I think there was an investigation, and I think we ought to not jump to conclusions until the investigation is over. I will tell you this.
What did you see?
I will tell you this. I saw a horrifying video, but I'm not going to jump to a conclusion until we have an investigation. I'll tell you this. In Virginia, they've got a quota on how many people they've got to pick up each week. 75% of the people who've been picked up in Virginia by ICE, and I've been to the ICE facilities to see the conditions, have violated no laws at all. That is not what the president said. We're going to get the criminals off the street. I can't speak to everything in Minneapolis. I can speak to what's happened in Virginia. 75% of the people, no criminal record. Secure the border, absolutely. Have masked ICE agents picking up moms, dropping off kids, or folks going to work. I don't think that's what the American people signed up for. And now we've got this split in city after city across America. That is not good for the sake of law enforcement. That is not good for the sake of actually having a rational immigration policy.
You would agree that going city to city to try to disrupt authorities from lawfully executing whatever their job is, disrupt, stop, obstruct what they're trying to do, that's against the law. That's not something that Democrats or anyone should be ginning up and telling people to do. Now, I know Trump has deported or sent back 350,000, 400,000 people. Barack Obama, your guy, as you called Trump, my guy, it was 5 million. It was 5 million over 8 years. Now we're at 350,000. What changed with Democrats on it? I know Biden let in 12 million. Is it about votes? Why didn't these people? Why isn't it a crime to be here? Not that they haven't committed a crime.
The border being as open as it was under Biden was one of the reasons Trump got elected. But the idea.
So you're glad it's closed now?
Do I think we ought to not have a fully open border? Absolutely. I've said that all along.
So with the 12 million that came in, what do we do?
The question I have for you is closing the border versus sending out ICE agents across the country to randomly pick up people based on quotas that have committed no crime.
How did Obama deport 5 million?
Done at the border.
I think it was a lot of that was done at the border.
They were sent back.
And the truth is, I don't think the American people signed up for this, where you see people who are working. There ought to be a path towards legality. We've worked on that. We've screwed that up, immigration reform, for years, both sides. But the idea that we're going to send in these ICE agents, by the way, Joe, do you realize ICE used to take 5 to 6 months to get trained? They've now lowered the training period to 47 days. Why 47 days? Because Donald Trump's the 47th president. Tell me that's a rational approach.
I'm not, obviously, I'm not going to take that bait and say it's a rational approach, but
Joe, you can't pick your facts.
Senator, at this point, there's 12 million people that are not supposed to be here. And why did that? Why was the border open? You said, oh, it shouldn't have been, and you kind of
it was
pun
the same.
on it.
It was for decades under Bush, Obama.
Nothing like during the Biden administration, obviously. Why? What was the rationale for that? And I have seen a lot of your comments about people didn't vote for this. I don't think, obviously, Democrats didn't have a good idea what people were voting for, or you wouldn't have lost the presidency in 7 swing states and the Senate and the House. So you don't know what people were voting for. They were voting for this.
And we'll see what happens in 26 when people's costs are not going down. Healthcare costs going up. Housing shortage.
Do you want deflation?
And American military, which is extraordinary. What we did in Venezuela, no other military in the world could.
I'm glad you can credit
but are we going to keep 20% of our fleet off the coast of Venezuela?
You don't want deflation, do you? Do you want an actual fall in prices?
I would actually like to see a stable economy that's predictable, without political interference into the Fed.
How's a 5% GDP grab you?
American government taking pieces of equity shares.
How are the new highs every day in the stock market and a 5% GDP? Is that good enough for you?
I thought this was a market-based show, Joe. I didn't think this was like the new, Socialist International under the Trump banner.
Okay. How's that? You didn't. How's the 5% GDP and the new highs every day in the market, and the 4.4% unemployment, and the 2.7%
market highs,
and the 2.7% inflation?
Market highs are great.
Where's the chaos you're talking about in the economy?
When you take away the independence of the Fed, whether that predictability is going to be
Things
maintained.
are pretty
So
good,
far,
right? Things are pretty good right now, though. You'd acknowledge.
I'd ask you to ask the sailors who are off the coast of Venezuela, who knows how long they're going to be deployed.
I think you cannot say that getting rid of Maduro is not a good. You ought to just say that and then just stop and then full stop.
Getting rid of Maduro is good. Getting rid of the Iranian Ayatollahs would be good. How you do that remains a question.
You couldn't have done it any better.
So where are you going to bomb next in Iran?
Look at me. But it unequivocally was a good thing what happened in Iran. And maybe
getting rid of Iran. President said he obliterated Iran's nuclear program.
Okay.
The most public domain.
That's the best you got is that he didn't.
It is set back. They can reconstitute within 4 to 9 months. That's in the public domain.